Mass Effect Andromeda launched yesterday, and I've put in about 3 or 4 hours so far. So I'm very early on in the game, but I do have some initial thoughts, things I want to just get out there in case you're interested in my opinion before I do my formal review sometime, probably next week. I want to make sure that I really give this game a fair shake and a shot, but I do have some initial thoughts, which is what this video is all about. Now, first things first, some elements of the game's problems that were advertised in all of those memes that we saw before launch, some of those aspects are overblown in those videos, which is natural. Certainly for any game before a day one patch, there's going to be glitches, there's going to be problems, there's going to be audio sync issues, there's going to be any number of issues. And to do that before that day one patch is a little disingenuous because you can make any game look bad, no matter how polished it is, by taking stuff and compiling it into a 3-minute or so video. So some of it is overblown. I will grant BioWare that. However, that does not excuse the many animation issues that are so abundant in this game. How this game got put out with just terrible scene animations, camera angles, I don't know. I don't know. They need to fire whoever was the lead animator on this game because it's frankly embarrassing. Now, there's some moments when I'm impressed and when I think, oh, well, that's pretty good. Somebody who knew what they were doing was in charge of that. But for the most part, you're sitting there during cutscenes and you're just astonished at how bad it really is. They walk like gorillas. It's so bad. It's really bad and noticeable in certain parts. Whether or not that'll get patched out, I don't know. It's very hard to patch entire animation sequences, but it's possible, I suppose. Whether or not they will do that, we don't know yet. We'll just have to wait and see. It remains to be seen, but it is still there. There are animation issues, which is the main issue with this game. Now, other elements is that it is unpolished. It really is. This game has been in development for 5 years, and it still probably needed 6 months to a year of polish and of refining. There's glitches all over the place, frame drops. I'm playing currently on the PS4 so that I can stream it and do gameplay videos a little easier. And on the PS4, there are frame drops, there's character pop-ins, not just texture pop-ins, those do happen, but entire character models that will pop in during the middle of a conversation, and it totally rips you out of any semblance of immersion that you had if the animations hadn't already done so. So it can be very frustrating. Now, there's also incredibly dry dialogue. This game, again, most games that I tend to have an issue with struggle with identity issues. This game, no different. It seems as though it's taking itself super seriously early on, and then you'll talk with an NPC who says something like, oh, well, you're not a pathfinder until you've path found something. And it's so bad. I'm not even kidding. That is a line. It is so bad and so cringy. You are just flabbergasted that made it past probably the hundreds of people that this had to go past before it was implemented into the actual game. It's astonishing, frankly. So those moments make you think that the game is sort of taking itself as a little more lighthearted. It's not that serious. It's joking around with itself. Kind of like a Grand Theft Auto 5 where there's, breaking the fourth wall and they do all sorts of jokes at the player's expense. But then they switch back and all of a sudden it's the most serious thing ever. You're looking for a home for humanity. And so you're constantly going back and forth trying to figure out what the game wants you to think it is. And it really struggles with settling on any one thing. Now, I might be reading into it too much. That's very possible. It might just be a bad game. It might just be bad writing. But as of right now, it seems to bounce back and forth between this lighthearted sci-fi and a sci-fi that takes itself really seriously. And so I would have liked to see just a steady-handed, consistent vision for the game where it's like, hey, we're going to goof off and you can bang aliens and do all that, or just embrace the super serious nature of it and work on writing that isn't ridiculous. Now, this is the most frustrating thing about all of this, is that there is a good game at the base of this pile of whatever. It's deep down, but it's there. I can see it. There are some really cool mechanics. The fighting mechanics and the combat is super fun and engaging. I would have liked to see more team elements fleshed out. It seems really high level right now. It's not very fleshed out. It seems maybe it was put together later on. But in general, there are elements of this game which are really intriguing. Every conversation essentially has some sort of branching dialogue option which will come back to haunt you or reward you later on in the game, which I can really appreciate as a lover of RPGs. The fact that just a casual conversation can have long-term impact. That's what I love about these types of games, and BioWare tends to be really good at it. Problem is, they might have gone too big with this one. As I said in my roundup of 5 things you need to know about before buying Mass Effect Andromeda, there are roughly 1,200 individual unique speaking NPCs. That is roughly the size of Mass Effect 2 and 3 combined, or all 3 of them combined. It's massive. There's a lot of dialogue to be had here. And the problem with that is simply that when you go for quantity, you tend to lose out on quality. And that is overwhelmingly apparent in Mass Effect Andromeda. And it's frustrating because if it had been polished out, if they had taken a little more time with it, even though they had already taken 5 years, if they'd taken another 6 months to a year to maybe re-record and rewrite some lines, really polish it up, I think this game could be one of the best of the year. But they simply were frustrated with where the game was. It was stuck in development for 5 years. They just wanted to get it out. They had hyped it up so much, didn't want to delay, and so they launched it when it wasn't ready, and that can be a little frustrating at times. Now, many of these elements could get fixed, to be fair. Many of these issues are patchable, but not quickly. These are big fixes. And we're just going to have to wait and see what BioWare chooses to do. If they pull a No Man's Sky and they continue to update and do big updates, giving players what players thought they were going to get, this game could be a sort of reborn fan favorite. But if they choose to abandon it, like many EA games in the past that have had problems, you could run into some just frustrated players who were excited about this game and got disenfranchised because it wasn't exactly what they thought it was, and EA refused to fix it because it would have been too expensive. I hope that they take the Sean Murray approach, as we saw this week with No Man's Sky and Hello Games coming out and actually providing updates, really trying to make No Man's Sky the game that they promised it to be. I hope they do the same thing with Mass Effect Andromeda, because as I said, there is a good game deep down inside this one. It just has to get exposed, and the only way you're going to get that is by tearing off all the crap that's on there right now, all the glitches, all the animation issues that are distracting. And probably, realistically, it needs a little bit of time to heal after all of the bad PR that they received pre-launch. So as of right now, I'm having a good time. If you have access to the game, if you're going to buy it, you know you're going to buy it, but you're just looking for the final word, I would say get it. It's definitely worth playing. If it's not going to be the best game you play this year, certainly, but it is a fun game. It is good. It's entertaining. You just can't take it too seriously. That's where I'm at right now. You can't expect this to be a super thought-provoking, thrilling, deep RPG because it's just not all there. They really struggled with what they wanted this game to be. So those are all my initial thoughts. I've been rambling for a little while. Thank you for watching. If you are interested in seeing my full show of Talk Gaming, you can watch it this Friday live here on YouTube. Don't worry if you can't make it. It will go up afterwards in its entirety, so you don't need to be there live. But if you are there live, you can get your questions answered, participate live. It'll be a blast. That's this Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I believe that's 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So definitely tune in for that. It's going to be a blast, and I cannot wait. Thank you for watching. I love you all. Peace out.